5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Liftoff. We have
Humans have dreamt of landing on the moon since time immemorial, but did you know that only 5 nations have managed to land crews or payloads on our natural satellite? India is one of the 5, and in 2023, it became the 4th country to ever land on the moon after the Soviet Union, the US, and China. The following video briefly explores the whirlwind journey of India's space program, from its inception to its incredible feat of landing on the moon. For a long time, missions to space, other planets, and even the moon were only accessible to 2 20th century superpowers, the United States and the Soviet Union. Since the end of World War II, the 2 giants have been jostling, jockeying, and spending for the position of world leader in all things space travel. However, while the Americans and Soviets were tussling and spending, other emerging countries were watching and learning. India, in particular, drew tremendous inspiration from 1969's Apollo 11 mission, and the Asian nation set its sights on the unthinkable, starting a space program that would one day land the Indian flag on the moon. Now, India, in the late 60s and early 1970s, was still largely dependent on agriculture, with infrastructure like phone lines and even roads still far from established nationwide. However, government leaders argued that investing in a space program would play a key role in developing telecommunications, as well as in moving India towards secondary and tertiary industries, rather than just being an agro-economy. Naturally, critics would voice concerns that a nation that struggles to feed its people should get its priorities in order before getting involved in first world problems. Despite the controversy, the Indian Space Research Organization, Isro, was founded on the 25th of August 1969 with a budget of about $1 billion. It was clear that unlike the Americans or even the Soviets, India could not just throw limitless cash reserves at problems. If Isro was to succeed, it would need to be smarter and think outside the box. This is exactly what happened as India harnessed its primary resource, its people, to help build and develop the nation's first space facilities. Even ox-drawn carts and bicycles were used to haul equipment and tools to and from build sites. Isro also limited its initial workforce to about 3,000 people, several times fewer than what NASA had at the time. Fast forward to the present, and we can safely say these extreme measures paid off. Today, India is one of the world's leading space nations. To date, the country has built rockets and launch platforms, launched satellites, and even sent probes to Mars. However, in August 2023, India and Isro arguably achieved the country's biggest space feat yet. On the 14th of July 2023, the 3rd mission of Isro's Chandrayaan program got underway. Chandrayaan-3 was made up of a rocket propulsion module carrying a lunar lander named Vikram. Inside the lander was a little lunar rover called Pragyan. The Satish Dhawan Space Center was the launch site, and the payload was launched aboard an Isro LVM-3 rocket. The mission was a successor to Chandrayaan-2, which also featured a lander and a rover, but the lander failed to land properly and the rover could not be deployed as a result. Chandrayaan-3 also had a similar aim of landing towards the lunar South Pole, something no one had ever achieved. The lunar South Pole is significant because scientists believe there is a possibility of frozen underground water there, which would be a game changer for extended livability on the moon. Other aims were to observe and demonstrate the Pragyan rover's capabilities, carry out experiments, and further the study of the moon's composition. The lander touched lunar ground on the 23rd of August 2023, making India the 4th nation to successfully land on the moon. The landing spot, which was at 69 degrees south, was also the southernmost lunar landing ever. The 6-wheeled Pragyan rover was deployed soon after landing, and it would go on to explore 101.4 meters, or 333 feet, of the moon's surface, testing out its comms, cameras, and collision avoidance systems successfully. Equipped with a 50-watt solar array, the 26-killing, 57-pound rover immediately turned to face the sun and gather a charge before exploring the lunar surface at 1 centimeter a second. Unfortunately, the rover's comms were linked to the lander, so it could not go further than 500 meters, 1,640 feet, from Vikram. The lander, in turn, would communicate with the lunar orbiter left over from Chandrayaan-2, and this orbiter would relay information to and from Earth. Through the lander, ground control staff would use the orbiter to identify coordinates for Pragyan, and the rover would work out the best way to get there while avoiding obstacles and craters. Vikram itself was equipped with experiments for measuring thermal conductivity, seismicity, and near-surface plasma density over time. The lander also featured several landing improvements to avoid the mishap of its predecessor. The Pragyan rover had experiments for measuring the chemical composition, mineralogical composition, and elemental composition of lunar rocks and the general surface around the landing site. Next-gen laser beams, all-terrain tires, the works. The scheduling of the Chandrayaan-3 was meant to give the lander and the rover about 14 days of exposure to the sun and solar power. You see, each side of the moon experiences 14 days of continuous sun exposure and 14 days of total darkness every 28 days. In the darkness, also known as lunar night, temperatures can drop to well below -200 degrees Celsius. The lander and rover needed the sun to conduct experiments before they fell under lunar night and stopped working. The hope was that after the first 14 days, Vikram and Pragyan would endure a fortnight of lunar night and come back to life when the sunshine hit them again. Unfortunately, that's not what happened. Vikram and Pragyan lost power a few hours into the lunar night and are still very dead on the moon. The device's batteries did not feature the same self-heating technology equipped on recent lunar landers from China or Japan, so surviving on the dark side of the moon was always going to be a tall order. However, Chandrayaan-3's propulsion module was brought back to Earth's orbit sometime in November 2023. All in all, Chandrayaan-3 was a positive step for mankind's lunar adventures and a giant leap for India's space program. The fact that the mission only cost $75 million speaks volumes of Isro's ingenuity and efficiency. We eagerly await to see what the future holds for the country's amazing space program.
Of close to 6,000 kilonewtons in vacuum. They are made of HTPB-based solid propellant, 204.5 tons in each strap-on. Close to 2 tons of propellant being burnt each second.
That brings us to the end of today's video. We hope you enjoyed it and that you would leave us a like, share the content, and subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to ding the bell and keep it locked onto your favorite space channel. Bye for now.